Welcome to Payoff Pitch, Action Network's Major League Baseball betting podcast. It is Tuesday, July 22nd. I'm Collin Whitchurch, joined once again by Action Network MLB betting guru Sean Zerillo. We're going to be breaking down all the action and best bets from tonight's MLB slate. Sean, before we get started, I want to talk about a game that neither of us are on tonight. It's Cubs-Royals, where 45-year-old Rich Hill will be making his season debut, playing for his 14th club. I'm going to throw us back a little bit here. Hill made his MLB debut on June 15th, 2005 for the Cubs against the then Florida Marlins on the very same field where he'll be pitching tonight at Wrigley. The game featured a great just hashtag remember some guys names: Jeremy Burnitz, Carlos Delgado, Paulo Duca, a 22-year-old Miguel Cabrera, as well as a couple of now actual senior citizens. Greg Maddux started the game for the Cubs. Mike Remlinger came in relief. It actually went Maddux, Remlinger, and then Rich Hill. Both Maddux and Remlinger are now 59 years old. And pinch-hitting wizard Lenny Harris also made an appearance in that game in what would be his final MLB season. Hill turned 61 years old in October. Hill threw one inning of relief in that game. He allowed 2 runs on 3 hits with 2 strikeouts in a game where the Marlins beat the Cubs 15-5. Sean, I have 3 questions for you. What were you doing on June 15th, 2005? I'll tell you what I was doing. It was about 2 weeks after I graduated high school, so I was doing absolutely nothing. I was 18 years old. In June 2005, I was probably watching the White Sox on their way to their World Series championship in 2005. That's how long ago this was. The White Sox won the World Series that year. So what were you doing in June of 2005? How excited are you to watch Dick Mountain back on an MLB mound tonight? And most importantly for our viewers and our listeners, if they want to bet this game tonight, is there a price point for which you would bet either the Royals or the Cubs tonight?
Yeah, let's take those in reverse order. So I make the Royals about plus 195. They were plus 215 this morning. It did get bet down a little bit. They're now plus 205. Best available number. I mean, 15 minutes ago, I looked at this line. It was plus 215. So somebody likes the Royals. Somebody likes Dick Mountain tonight. I would bet them at about plus 225 or better if it jumped back up. I also make the total about 8.75. The line is under 9 minus 120, minus 115. So no bet on the total. If it was under 9 at plus money, I would consider it. Probably will not get there. Excited to just see Rich Hill continuing to grind it out. Is he the oldest player in the big leagues at this point?
Oh, yeah, he's 45.
Because aside from him,
it's Verlander. Verlander's the next oldest.
Verlander is the next oldest, and there's really not too many guys over 40 at this point. We, thinking back to Julio Franco playing into his mid to late 40s. You mentioned Lenny Harris. If you're listening to the podcast, you don't know the name Lenny Harris. He's the answer to the trivia question. Most pinch hits in Major League history, and a record that will never be broken, probably untouchable without the pitcher spot to pinch hit for, because that's where Lenny Harris excelled, was coming off the bench. 212 career pinch hits for Lenny Harris, a record that will probably stand for a long time, probably as safe as Joe DiMaggio's hit streak record. I don't see anybody getting 212 pinch hits across their major league career unless they have some sort of superstition that bringing this guy off the bench keeps winning them games.
Yeah.
Like when Larry Bird came back from injury for the Celtics and they started playing him as a 6th man and they wouldn't stop winning. They're like, just keep using him as the 6th man. It seems to be working. So yeah, that's a record that will never be broken. In June of 2005, I was working at a baseball camp. I was going into junior high school. Our school had built a beautiful $500,000 baseball field between my, I want to say, freshman and sophomore years. And I was one of the original members of the team. I was the second captain in team history, but as part of the process to fund that field, to make the most use of it, we ran a baseball camp over the summer that a lot of the middle schoolers, lower schoolers came to. I was one of the few counselors at it. And I was told by the kids there when we played, I forgot what game it is, where you basically play tag and have the kids run back and forth and you try to tag them as they're running through you. But I was informed by the children there that I had freakishly long arms because I was able to tag them from very far away. I also played hockey goalie too. I have very long limbs. I'm 6'2", but my limbs are like particularly long. So yeah, I was informed by these children that I had freakishly long arms in the summer of 2005. A comment which, coming from like an 8 to 10-year-old, even when you're 16, is extremely biting. It's, it really like tears to the heart of your soul.
Well, you remember it 20 years later, so that speaks for itself.
Just body dysmorphia induced by a 10-year-old. So yeah, that's what I was doing in the summer of 2005.
Getting burned by 10-year-olds and then going home and watching Rich Hill's MLB debut. All right, well, let's jump into the action for Tuesday with our best bets for tonight's slate. 15 games, a lot of good matchups. Sean, what are you going with for your best bet tonight?
Yeah, I'm going with Dodgers and Twins under. We've got Doug Eddings behind the dish here. One of the best pitcher-friendly umpires. Career 53.6% to the under in the Action Labs database. I'm not sure if he started his career before 2005, but that's when our database goes back to. About a 3% ROI betting Doug Eddings every game on the under since 2005. His strikeout minus walk rate also about a tick better than the Major League average. Major League average about 13.5%, Eddings about 14.2% across the sample that we have. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, I talked about him last time I bet him. Once he gets through the first time through the order, he's fine. But the home run rate first time through, I'm assuming has to do with him throwing more fastballs first time through the order. Career 1.04 homers per nine first time through the order, drops to 0.7 second time through, and 0.4 third time through. So Yamamoto seemingly a guy who gets better the longer he goes into his starts, the deeper he goes into the starts. Twins also in their much lesser split here. This is much better offense against left-handed pitching than it is against right-handed pitching. Correa, Buxton hitting at the top of that lineup. This team is 23rd against right-handed pitching, 13th against lefties. But over the past 30 days, Twins have the number one offense against left-handed pitching, 147 WRC plus. They dropped to 21st versus righties, a 97 WRC plus. So 21st or 23rd on the season against righties, 21st over the past 30 days. Huge split differential, first against lefties over the past 30 days. The Twins, though, do have the number one bullpen in baseball by expected FIP, third in strikeout minus walk rate. Dodgers, 8th, 5th, respectively. A little bit worse of late. They also lost potentially Tanner Scott to injury from last night's game as well. So maybe one fewer high leverage relief arm in the back end of that bullpen tonight, just to be a little bit concerned about. But Yamamoto should go 6 or 7 innings tonight, and hopefully the Dodgers offense stays a little bit cold. They did score 5 last night, but over the last 2 weeks, this is the 30th ranked offense in baseball, a 65 WRC plus over the last 2 weeks for the Dodgers, 24th over the past 30 days. Before this slump, no matter how you split up the Dodgers season, they were basically first or second by all batted metrics. Over the past couple weeks, they've dropped to 30th in the league. So projected this total about 7.6. I like the under 8 to minus 105. I'd even be willing to go up to minus 110 for my best bet. So Twins and Dodgers under. Took 8.5 last night, like down to 8 at minus 110.
Doug Eddings' debut as a major league umpire came in 1998.
I figured he was before 2005. So. So the sample that we have, he's a 3% ROI to the under. But I would imagine, based off of the data that we have, if we had betting data back to 1998, he'd probably be even more profitable. So.
Very, very fond memories of Doug Eddings, as I'm contractually obligated to mention the White Sox at least once per podcast appearance. He was the home plate umpire for the infamous dropped third strike in the ALCS with AJ Pierzynski. He was the umpire that Angels fans not too happy with. My best bet today, I'm going back on the bandwagon of my favorite young pitcher in baseball, Chase Burns. Backing him tonight in the nation's capital as a favorite in Reds Nationals. Burns last pitched 11 days ago at home against Colorado. Looked exactly like an ace should look when facing the Rockies. 6 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, and 10 strikeouts. I was on his strikeouts over that day on Payoff pitch. I think I even gave out on the pod recommended laddering him up to 10 strikeouts. So that paid off for us in a big way. We're going back to the well again today. Thankfully, since he was just facing the Rockies in that start, the books haven't necessarily overreacted to that outing, so they're still pricing him at what I think is a discount. The Reds are hovering around minus 140 on the money line today with Brad Lord on the other side for Washington. And more significantly, his strikeout total tonight is still sitting at 5.5 with the over at around minus 135. I think the strikeout totals can probably be explained by the fact that the Nationals, for all of their issues, are not one of the easier teams in the league to strike out. Their K rate is sitting at 20.3% right now. It's the fifth lowest in baseball, behind just the Cubs, Padres, Royals, and Blue Jays. And when you isolate that to right-handed pitching, it actually drops to 19.6%. So they're a tough team to strike out. I get it. Burns is sporting a 33.8% strikeout rate so far through 4 starts, and that includes one start where he didn't strike out any and just recorded 1 out. He had one absolute blow-up start in Boston.
Yeah, he was tipping pitches in that start. We're pretty sure.
Yeah. So if you exclude that outing and also the amazing gem against the Rockies, his other 2 starts, we saw him strike out 8 against the Yankees in 5 innings. We saw him strike out 7 Phillies in just 4 2/3 innings. The Yankees are obviously a very strikeout heavy team, but the Phillies are just right there a little bit behind the Nationals when looking at the K rate leaderboard. So I'm going to be looking to bet the Reds and Burns really hard for as long as the books don't catch up to his talent. On our futures episode of Payoff Pitch right before the All-Star break with Jim Turvey, I gave out a Burns National League Rookie of the Year ticket at 30-1. Jacob Mizorowski, I think the books are just super overrating after 5 starts. He was sitting in the minus 200 range. And Burns, the blow up in Boston, kind of helped deflate his odds. But I think that this guy has the potential to just go on a 2-month absolute tear. And with the NL Rookie of the Year race wide open, I think it's 22-1 right now still at DraftKings. I really like that, and will be interesting to see how far it drops if he rips through the Nationals again tonight. So I'll be on the Reds money line tonight. Again, minus 142, and I'm also betting Burns over 5.5 strikeouts at minus 135. I don't think I'm going to ladder Burns today, again, just because the Nationals are a tougher team to strike out, but I think he can get to 6 tonight. And if you want to do a same-game parlay on this, Reds money line, Burns strikeouts over, that pays out at plus 172 at DraftKings. Let's move on to the underdog section. Sean, you and I crushed it yesterday. We hit both of our underdogs with the Blue Jays. We were both on, and then you were on the Astros against the Diamondbacks. That paid off. If you parlayed those, I think it paid out around plus 360 or so. Tonight, we're going to try to hit a couple more underdogs, and it's proof once again that as a bettor, you have to have a short memory and simply play the matchups. The Blue Jays were kind to us yesterday, and today you're on the other side of that big Yankees-Blue Jays matchup. It's the young Cam Schlittler on the mound for New York against the old man, Max Scherzer.
Yeah, I bet on the Jays in 4 of the past 5 games in Toronto against the Yankees. Finally betting the Yankees here. And also on the under. Mostly been on the over in these matchups as well. I was on the under yesterday. I bet that late. Didn't mention it on the pod. Came into range late for me. I am on the under 9 as well. I think this is a hyper contrarian under between these two teams, between these two pitchers. 41-year-old Max Scherzer, soon to be 41 years old. He'll turn 41 in a couple weeks. And Cam Schlittler, who I am very high on. This kid is big-time stuff. 101 stuff plus on his fastball, 111 on the slider, 124 on the curve. Didn't throw the curve as much in that first start. See if he bumps it up a little bit more as he progresses in his big league career. But 15 called strikes, 10 whiffs in that major league debut, 6 on the fastball, 4 on the slider. Does appear to have major league caliber stuff. 3.66 bot ERA. His rest of season FIP projections are pretty comparable to Max Scherzer, average of 4.37, Scherzer average of 4.04, but a range of 4.17 to 4.75. And the projections like Oopsie that are incorporating pitch modeling metrics have him at 4.17. I would take the under on that. I think that bot ERA is even more indicative of where he can be. A above average major league starter, already one of the Yankees' better pitchers. It's really going to come down to the command because the stuff is there. If he can command it, if he can be efficient, he will be a very effective major league pitcher immediately. Now, I don't think Max Scherzer is washed, but he has continued a 4-year decline in terms of his underlying indicators. The expected ERA in 2022 was 2.87, so still close to peak Max Scherzer. Went up to 3.28, so about a half run. Went up a half run again to 3.86 in 2024, and then now another half run, 0.6 of a run again to 4.41 this season. So from 2022 to this year, Scherzer's expected ERA has gone up from 2.9 to 4.4. The stuff plus has fallen from 108 to 98. The velocity is actually up a tick compared to last year, but overall, I still think this is a declining profile. Still an effective major league pitcher, but just not nearly elite level Max Scherzer. I think he projects very similarly to the other guys in this Jays rotation. I would put Max Scherzer on a similar level as Chris Bassett right now. I think they're very comparably projected pitchers, might even give Bassett a slight edge. I'd probably still put Scherzer ahead of Jose Barrios because I'm not generally the most high on Jose Barrios. So I still think he's effective. I just don't think he's a number 2 or a number 1 or maybe even a number 3. He's probably a number 3 at this point. I think Schlittler could be a number 2 right away. So slight edge for Schlittler for me. The biggest key potentially in this matchup tonight, the Jays have used their 3 best relievers 3 times in the past 4 days. Little, Rodriguez, Hoffman, all have worked 3 times in the past 4 days. I believe 2 of them had an off day on Sunday, but all 3 of them worked last night to close out that win against the Yankees. Conversely, the Yankees used their 2 worst arms to close out that game last night with a 4-1 deficit. Efros and Brubaker were brought into the game to finish that one up. Not sure if their season-long numbers compared to other guys in the bullpen are worse, but in terms of how I project them out in my model, those are the 2 worst arms. So Yankees should have all their high-leverage guys tonight. Jays are missing their 3 best high-leverage guys tonight. Yankees also have a starting pitching edge. I think the lineups are pretty comparable, probably a slight edge to the Yankees. Big defensive edge to the Blue Jays. But I make this game about minus 109. I'd bet the Yankees at even money. And I make the total about 8.25. I'd bet the under 9 to minus 120. As I said, it's a very contrarian over. It's not a bet I necessarily am in love with. But I do think I would expect most people to be betting the over here. I would expect the roof to be open again. It was open yesterday. It should be open again tonight. Perfect weather in Toronto. And should mention too, because I wanted to mention this yesterday when you were talking about the Jays, I neglected to. Rogers Center changed their walls, right? They changed the outfield alignment 2 years ago, I believe, and we didn't really see an effect in the park factor. They moved like the right center field wall in. They moved some of their walls in an effort to create more offense. If you guys remember during the pandemic, they played down in Dunedin in Florida, and that's when Vlad hit like 50 home runs for the season. They played part of the season in Toronto, but most of it in Dunedin. And I think they were trying to just get Vlad back to his power a little bit, increase the overall power of this offense. Well, the Rogers Center this year, I'll back up a second. From 2022 to 2024, Rogers Center had a home run factor about 3% above the major league average, about a 3% boost. This year, it's up 23%. And it's held steady for like the entire year. And balls just keep flying at that park. So I don't know if they have different settings on their humidor because they're calculating in Celsius versus Fahrenheit in Canada, and they didn't modify the temperature settings to be at the right degree. I'm completely kidding, but I don't know what's going on with the ball. Sorry, go ahead.
I said that would be so funny.
They miscalculated the temperature, right? Because of the Fahrenheit Celsius conversion. No, legitimately though, I don't know what's going on with the ball in Toronto this year and why it's flying as much as it has. My gut, my instinct is to say relatively small sample. It should neutralize. But in the same respect, I also think we're seeing some regression for home runs that should have been going out, after they moved the walls in. So I do think this park should play a little bit better than that plus 3% boost, but I don't think it should be playing at a 23% boost to home runs too. So that's my significant concern with the under is just the ball flying a little bit more at Rogers Center this year. Also these teams and the bullpen familiarity on both sides could light each other up. But yeah, it's a number that I don't really have a choice but to play the under at under 9 to minus 120 and Yankees at even money.
I'll be frank and say the Yankees are also my favorite underdog tonight, but I did want to find us some variety. Another team I'm going to be taking a poke at are the Pirates once again against the AL leading Tigers tonight. Pirates got it done last night as favorites in a funky spot as favorites. It's a 39-win team favorite over a 60-win team. They got it done behind Skeens. He dealt as expected. The Pirates were able to scratch together just a few runs against Jack Flaherty. By the way, you fully called it on Flaherty. They pulled him way early in that game, trying
protect that arm,
to
right?
rest
Get
that
to
arm.
October. I
Yeah.
would,
Uh,
yeah, that's a really good. I'm glad you brought that up again. Like Flaherty unders have to be a thing, right? Going forward, not only the lack of
yeah.
effectiveness, but also the pitch usage. The Tigers are in the postseason. They just need to get
Yeah.
guys healthy there. Maybe even Scooble unders at some point. Maybe they stop pushing Scooble as
Going to be
aggressively in
looking at.
leagues.
It's going to be really interesting to see where they price his strikeout and his outs recorded
Mm-hmm.
totals his next
Yep.
start, Flaherty. But you and I have talked about this from time to time about how books and bettors will react to a bad team beating a good team. Say something like, "Oh, well, surely that's not going to happen again," and you'll sometimes see it in the price, or at the very least, you're going to see it in the betting splits. We're not seeing that in the price tonight. It's shocking that the Pirates are sitting around the plus 110 range. But because of that, we are seeing it in the betting splits right now. 78% of the bets are on Detroit. 88% of the money is on Detroit. The Pirates beat the Tigers last night after coming off a 3-game sweep at the hands of the White Sox. Surely the Pirates aren't beating the Tigers again, right? Well, I'll take a stab here. With the mindset with Mitch Keller making another trade deadline audition against Casey Mize,
Could be
who's a
his final
pitcher.
start as a Pirate.
Yeah, it could very well be. It's first or second to last start as a Pirate. And he's going against Casey Mize, who's a pitcher I'm looking to fade and expecting regression from. He had a solid first half. It was good enough for him to warrant an all-star selection as an injury replacement. His 3.15 ERA is sterling, but his DRA is still sitting at 4.34. It's more than a run higher. The Fangraphs advanced stats are a bit kinder, but his xERA is 3.29. FIP is at 3.89, and his xFIP is all the way up at 4.03. So this is still a pitcher who the models believe has pitched over his head for the first couple months of the season. His last start before the All-Star break was also his worst of the season. He gave up 6 earned runs in 3 innings against the Mariners. Not exactly an offense that's going to blow you away. Most of the time, they were able to light up Mize. He's also not a pitcher who's going to blow you away or can get out of jams with swing and miss stuff. He has a very pedestrian strikeout rate. He has for the whole season. He's survived by limiting walks and pitching around contact. It's also I'm interested to keep watching this Tigers offense. They got shut down by Skeens last night. That's no big deal. Skeens shuts down everyone. But this offense is in a really big funk right now. They have scored 3 runs in the 4 games since the All-Star break. They scored 3 runs total against the Rangers over the weekend, and one of those was a win, a 2-1 win in the Tarek Skubal start on Sunday. But they also lost 4 straight games, including a sweep by the Mariners right before the All-Star break. They've scored more than 3 runs in a game once since July 7th. That was 15 days ago. A lot of Tiger skeptics have been saying for some time that regression is coming for some of these hitters. Javi Baez, Zach McKinstry, Dylan Dingler. I think we're starting to see it now. I think the Tigers are a very good team, to be clear. I know I am this podcast's preeminent Tigers hater. The Tigers are a very good team. They're a playoff team. They're going to win the AL Central running away. I'm just not sure they were ever 100-plus wins good. So that's where this regression is coming. So they're going from, a 100-win pace to, mid to low 90s pace, which is still a very good team, but it's more where the Tigers' true talent might be. So I'm going to go and be a contrarian here today, bet against the betting splits, bet against the public, and bet with the line with Vegas. I just, if a square better is going to look at this line and say the Tigers are only minus 130 tonight against the freaking Pirates, hammer spot. But Mize has warts. This offense is struggling, and Mitch Keller's good. He's making his last or second to last start as the Pirates. So I'm taking the Pirates on the money line tonight. I'll probably be betting them, taking a stab at both halves. See, we cash a first 5 and the bullpen blows it. Still come out with some profit. Split a unit between the first 5 money line and the full game money line.
Should mention that Kerry Carpenter is still out for the Tigers as well. I actually want to pull up the Tigers split. So Kerry went down on June 29th. So let's see from June 30th to now how the Tigers have performed offensively. I'll have this up in 1 second. The Tigers are 23rd in offense since Kerry Carpenter went down on June 29th, a 90 WRC plus. So that just shows, yes, maybe it's just unfortunate timing that's when he went down. They're 19th against right-handed pitching over the same span. Maybe it was just unfortunate timing and they were going to slump anyway, but losing your best hitter and you've been in bottom 10 offense since, that's pretty indicative of how much they've been struggling.
Yeah, Riley Green is still incredible. I think Spencer Torkelson still having a very fine season, but
But
some of these,
Riley has such a weird profile because he's constant. If you look at the power, the barrel rate, and the swing and miss on Riley Green, he's all or nothing. He
yeah.
swings all the time and
Well,
either
he
makes
leads the
hard.
majors in strikeouts, right? Or at least he did
I
until
think he
not that
does.
long
Yeah.
ago.
So it's
Yeah.
it's all just like he sells out for power. He's a very good, interesting player, but there's a lot of empty ABs from him too, where he doesn't advance runners, doesn't get the fly ball to drive in a run from home. It's a lot of empty at bats for Riley Green. So I think he's a fantastic player. I think he's a very unique player in terms of his plate approach. But also, like, it's the kind of approach that can lead to slumps, that can lead to prolonged slumps because you're selling out for power. And when you're not making contact, you're not moving runners at all.
All right, final bets time. It's a light card tonight compared to Monday. Sean, just one more total and one more side for you, and I've got a couple props. Let's start in Philly. Walker Buehler gave us a bit of a scare on our Phillies minus 200 ticket last night. Throwing it back a bit, competent start against the Phillies. The Phillies won in the 10th on a walk-off manager's challenge, catcher's interference with the bases loaded. Modern baseball is a joy. Didn't you say it was the first time in how long?
1971, I believe, was the only other one in the current era of modern baseball. So it's the second ever and the first since the 70s.
Incredible. So you're on the under tonight in Boston, Philly.
I am, and former colleague Anthony DeBundo also thought the Phillies money line at minus 190 was a little short tonight. He's generally a Chris Sanchez whisperer, so I tend to trust his opinion. I made this line about minus 190, so no bet on a side for me. I'm a little bit higher on Richard Fitz maybe than Anthony is, and yesterday I was very low on Walker Buehler. That was probably why I bet the Phillies. Obviously Wheeler's elite, but I think Sanchez is elite too. I'm just a little bit higher on Richard Fitz than I am on Walker Buehler. Fitz is a pitch model, darling. I mean, the pitch models love Richard Fitz. 3.6 body RA, 104 pitching plus. The underlying indicators haven't gotten there. I think his command is a little wonky, but I mean, career 106 stuff plus on the slider, 100 on the fastball, 105 in the curve. He should be an effective major league pitcher. Just 95th percentile in chase rate. So those pitches do work. 15th percentile in barrel rate. So like like I said with Riley Green as a hitter, it seems like to a degree Richard Fitz is very all or nothing as a pitcher. Either he's ripping those pitches off and getting guys to chase, or he's leaving them in the zone and they're getting barreled up. He's not consistent, I guess, with being able to break those pitches off. Now, Chris Sanchez, obviously elite. Also, you have the potential that he's pitching angry since getting snubbed by the All-Star game. I had that theory, right? And I was like, okay, if that's true, he was probably throwing harder in his last start before the All-Star game. Velo was actually slightly down. So I think you could dismiss the Chris Sanchez is pissed off about not making the All-Star game. I was hoping I'd see like a 1 velocity bump, a 1 mile an hour tick up, and I'd be like, definitive proof that he was pissed off. Didn't see that in the numbers, but this guy is phenomenal. He's top 10 among qualified starting pitchers in both expected ERA and expected 50 season, both sub 3, 299 and 291 respectively. Also, he puts the Red Sox in their lesser split. I think the Red Sox are better against right-handed pitching than they are against lefties. Shows up in these splits numbers. Last 30 days, Red Sox 126 against righties, 110 versus lefties. Edwin Jimenez, not too much of a sample. He hasn't been umpiring since 1998 like Doug Eddings, but he has been around for about 55 career games. We do have some indication that this is a pitcher-friendly umpire. As I said, with Eddings' strikeout minus walk rate being about 0.7% above the major league average, Jimenez is closer to 1.5% compared to the major league average. 15% strikeout minus walk rate, 15%. The major league average is around 13.5%. So good indications, young in his umpiring career, that Edwin Jimenez is going to give us about a 2% reduction potentially in run scoring here. Relatively neutral weather. I make this total about 8. Under 8.5 open last night at minus 105. I think it still might be there right now. I like the under 8.5 to minus 110 between the Red Sox and Phillies today at Citizens Bank Park. Hopefully we get pretty good efforts from these starting pitchers, and the bullpens do not make it too sweaty. Did go to extras last night, but I still see enough high leverage relief on both sides that I think we can get through this game pretty comfortably, even with the bullpens. Normally, seeing the relievers coming in, the bullpens coming in, you're like, oh no, tomorrow is going to be a disaster. Pitching wise, I think it should actually be okay today. Both teams saved their bullpens enough on Sunday that we should be all right tonight.
Yeah, we got Dick Mountain on the mound in Wrigley and Dick Fitz taking the bump at Citizens Bank Park tonight. It's never mind. I'm not even going to say what I was about to say. Let's move on to your final bet of the day. In Atlanta, the Braves are giving 28-year-old Davis Daniels another start. He's taking on Landon Roop and the struggling Giants.
Yeah, Austin Riley coming back from the IL for the Braves tonight. I'm not sure how much that was factored into the line last night, but it is out of range now. So I don't want to spend too much time in this game. I bet the Braves at minus 102. Said to bet them to minus 105. I projected it at minus 118. It's currently minus 115. Should comment, though, on the Giants' struggles since the Rafael Devers trade. Devers has an 85 WRC plus, 84 WRC plus since getting traded to San Francisco, dealing with a disc injury in his back and neck. The Giants as a team have an 85 WRC plus since trading for Rafael Devers. So basically the same. Devers 84, Giants 85. Since that trade, he's signed through 2033. As I said, when the Red Sox made that trade, one more injury in this contract is an albatross, and you can never move off of it again. It took 6 weeks for him to sustain another injury and go into the toilet. And if he was still on the Red Sox, I almost guarantee you they would not be able to deal this contract right now. So how you feeling, Giants fans? How you feeling, Red Sox fans? Yeah, I think the Red Sox made the right move getting out from underneath that thing. Devers is already cratered, and the Giants and their financial situation may crater along with it because they were stuck paying that man a lot of money for the next 7+ years. So very odd that it took this short of a period of time to completely collapse. But I would be extremely concerned about Devers the rest of the season, the Giants the rest of the season, and their chances at making the playoffs if he's going to be a below average hitter.
I don't know if I'm going to dig Devers' career grave necessarily based on this. I think he's still got – I think the back end of that contract is going to be bad. But, he's slumping right now just like he slumped at the beginning of the season. I'm down on the Giants just like you are. I don't know if it's necessarily indicative of larger question marks there. But, I mean, for today, I definitely agree with you. The Giants slumping I like the Braves here in this spot. Move on to my final bets. I just got a couple of strikeout props here for me real quick in a game, both from the same game. Orioles Guardians tonight. Brandon Young against Joey Cantillo. This is essentially zagging again against recent trends on both pitchers who are supremely underwhelming. Cantillo has essentially started out of necessity for the Guardians ever since Luis Ortiz was put on leave while the league investigates suspicious gambling activity. He started 3 games since then. He struck out 5, 6, and 7 batters in those 3 starts. His K total tonight is a very high 6.5. It's higher than Chase Burns' strikeout total tonight. That doesn't make any sense to me. I know it's opponent relative, but it seems grossly high for a career reliever who topped out at 89 pitches his last time out. The other side, we've got Brandon Young. His K total sitting at 3.5. He struck out at least 4 in 4 of his 6 starts this season. So I'm going to go the other way against a Guardians team that can wear pitchers down pretty quickly. I think that this is where it is because of his. I think that this strikeout total is where it is because of Young's recent strikeout performance. But I think his recent performance is not in line with his true talent level. So I'm on Cantillo under 6.5 strikeouts and Brandon Young under 3.5 strikeouts. If you want to throw them in an SGP, that pays out at plus 270 at DraftKings.
That Cantillo strikeout total is very high. I'm going to have to investigate that. 6.5 seems kind of bizarre for Joey Cantillo.
Agreed.
I mean, what are his recent pitch counts even? Like, is he stretched
89 last time out, and that was his season high.
Okay. And he struck out 6, 7, 5 the game before that. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm going to have to investigate some Orioles splits, lefty-righty splits, and stuff like that, because that seems a little high.
Yeah, that jumped out to me immediately. But that's going to do it for us. Before we get out of here, let's toss it over to Grant Neiffer of Scores and Odds to bring us some of his favorite dinger props for the day.
Thanks, guys. All right, it is Tuesday. DK is giving us a no sweat token for some dingers, and I got a 3-leg 107-1 one right here. Let's get started with first leg, Nicholas Kurtz. Get him at plus 400. Gets a matchup versus DeGrom, but DeGrom really has not been great versus lefties this year. Above average fly balls, above average hard contact, giving up above average home runs this season to lefties. He's been very good to righties, but lefties, he's been very susceptible to power. Nicholas Kurtz been fantastic this season, been one of the hottest hitters in the league over the last 2 months. Plus 400 is far too high. Next up, Juan Soto. Soto gets a matchup versus old man Hendricks. Hendricks is not the same pitcher he used to be. Well above average fly ball numbers this year. Only striking out guys at 15% clip. Hasn't given up a ton of bombs to lefties this year. Been much worse versus righties. But he's due for some negative regression going up against lefties with the underlying numbers here. Getting Juan Soto at plus 295 is just a bit too high. And lastly, Trent Grisham plus 450. Grisham should be leading off like he normally does today. Gets a matchup versus Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer, another guy, not the same pitcher he used to be. He's over 40. Scherzer has been getting crushed by lefties this year. 3 home runs per 9 this season and been well above average the last 2 years. Strikeout rate sitting around 50%, well above average fly balls, well above average hard contact. Everything's lining up, and this Toronto ballpark has played well for lefty power this season, giving up the 5th most home runs according to StatCast data. So it's a great ballpark for lefty power, great matchup for Grisham, and we're getting plus 450 odds over at DraftKings. Parlay all of them together, 107-1. Use that DK no sweat token. Worst case scenario, you get a free bet back, or bonus bet back rather. So that's what I'm rolling with today. I'm out of here. Oil!
Thanks, Grant. That'll do it for today's episode of Payoff Pitch. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to tail some of the bets from today's episode, look for the quick slip links in the episode description. Don't forget to download the free award-winning Action Network app and leave us that 5-star rating and review wherever you listen to the podcast. Also, check out the Action Network Discord. There's a link to that in the episode description of this podcast as well. We'll be back on Friday for more MLB Best Bets for Sean Zerillo and Grant Neiffer. I'm Collin Whitchurch. Thanks for listening to Payoff Pitch, Action Network's MLB betting podcast, and good luck with all of your bets today.